I'm back sooner than I thought I was going to be. Okay. I believe there's some power in this idea that I just had, or just was given to me rather, just popped into my head here. Okay, I think, and now I've lost it, of course, with my ADHD mind that goes 1,000 billion zillion miles a minute. Give me a sec. I'm going to get it back. Yes, here it is. Okay, here's the truth. Here's the truth. Here's the moment of change. And it relates to the thing I said earlier. It relates to the other video. It relates to the mirror of my son, right? The mirror of the thing you love. Here's what it is. I think I boiled it down into a more distilled essence, right? When you can stand in the truth, when you can stand in the light and the truth of your responsibility, right? At the harming of the experience of another being, right? In this case, my son. It could be anyone, another spirit, another child of God, let's say, right? It could be anyone. It doesn't have to be a relation, a blood relation, a relative or whatever, right? In this case, it was for me. So the mirror is the child of God that you, to some degree, are entrusted to. Certainly with a child, you've been entrusted to care for that soul, that soul, that child of God. You've been cared, you've been in charge, you've been entrusted to care for it, right? To nurture it, to help it grow, to give it a safe environment, to figure out what it is and what it wants and who it's going to be and how it's going to love. And it is a representation on earth. It's a manifestation of God's love, right? All of us are, and we're all unique, and we all only happen this one time, and that's all there is. And so you've been given, even if it's a friend or a business partner or someone at work, right? Because they're in your sphere of influence, this is a spiritual being. This is God's child, right? Who's been entrusted to you in differing degrees depending on the relationship. When you care more about that being's, that spiritual child of God's existence, when you care more about their experience of their life, when you care more about helping them see it so they can enjoy it and maximize it, when you care more about that than looking at yourself or looking at your pain or looking at just yourself, right? When you are willing to, even if you didn't do it, even if you are not the responsible party who's inflicted damage on this other being, let's say, and I'm just using these words because it's then they're interchangeable, right? Then it's not a specific person because it doesn't apply to only one or only one type of relationship. It's everyone. I think it's what God or Jesus meant when he said the neighbor, when he tried to explain that analogy, right? So child of God, everyone, beings, child of God, God's children. Anyways, I'm rambling. Here's that ADHD brain again. But anyway, when you are willing to take the responsibility, even if it isn't yours, but in so doing, you alleviate the suffering of the other being, of the other child of God that is in your care in some fashion, in your orbit. When you are more willing to be responsible for their pain, even if you didn't cause it, even if it isn't your fault, when you care more about them and their experience and their life and their attuning to God, when you care more about that and are therefore willing, which is what Christ did on the cross, and are therefore willing to sacrifice this image that we have of ourselves, of our pain and of our life and of our suffering and of our experience, right? When you stop looking at you, you are freed up to be pure love from God. And I don't know a better way to say it. And I know it sounds woohoo and mystical and crystals and hippies. I get it. I don't know better words to say it in though. When you stop staring at yourself, when you stop being obsessed with yourself, when you stop turning yourself into an idol and you look at the other, and the starting point is to say, I want to look at God. I'm going to go outside of myself. I'm going to look at something better. We're going to decide. We're going to make a judgment. Just, something better. What could be better? More love and less pain, right? Certainly we can agree on that. More love, less pain. The suffering that leads to suicide, the suffering that leads to addiction, the pain that exists inside of us, those of us at the extremes who feel, or maybe we've just been hurt more. I don't know how all the pieces play out. But for you who are out there that know the pain I'm talking about, right? Those of us that know, it hurts so bad. And when we recognize that, right? And when we recognize what wasn't there, for me, it was a recognition of what wasn't there. And it wasn't not there, right? There were probably many people along the way. God reaching out to me with lifelines along the way. But I was too stubborn in my thinking. The ruts in my thinking were blocking my ability to grasp the lifelines that God has been throwing me throughout all these years of suffering. So it's not that they weren't there. They are there, which is why this is important to talk about. So that everyone else in those places, you are not where you think you are. You are not what you think you are. You are something different. You are set apart. You are God's chosen thing. You are a child of God. You are the brothers and sisters of Jesus. He said as much when he was in a crowd of people, most of them strangers, and his literal family came to the door. And they interrupted him, and they said, "Hey man, your mom and your brothers and sisters are out here." And he was like, "Huh? These are my brothers and sisters. These are my mother." Just the people around him, everybody. We're all the same family. We all come from one place, right? When you can care because you felt that pain and that suffering, and you've been relieved, you've been blessed with the grace and the forgiveness of Christ, right? And whatever it is that means, and it needs unpacking. It's language that I was not comfortable using a year ago because it needs unpacking. We've abused these words, we've miscommunicated what they mean, and it's time to set the record straight. It's time to come back to the essence, to the energy, to the meaning. We have to understand the context and the environment and the people and the narrative and the conscious understanding that all these people would have had of the words that this man was saying to them. We cannot just literally look at the words in 2023 and expect to get the same message. If you have had a conversation with anyone ever, you know that there are as many things in the unspoken, in the quiet, in the eye flicks, in the rolls, in the head nods, in the gestures of a body. If you don't understand that we need to look at this in a new way, maybe it's time to think about it. Maybe it's time to challenge your thinking. Maybe it's time to ask, what would this have meant? What would that have meant? I don't know where I'm going with this, but I think the origin, the beginning, is the recognizing that if we can stop idolizing ourselves and staring only at ourselves and our experience, that is when the beginning, the possibility of opening up to the one true God of the universe and what he's really trying to do and say to you. Only then does it even begin to become possible. The first step is a step of faith. You have to sort of go without knowing. And in the process, the knowing starts to happen. I don't know what else to call it. Anyway, chew on it, I guess. Think about that idea. Let it get legs. Mix it in with the one about the ruts in the road and the way you're thinking and the things you're approaching. Mix them together. They all intertwine. It's the same pattern over and over again. Just chew on it. Don't let it challenge you as a person or who you are or where you stand. God loves you. You're accepted. You're already there, right? But let it be a real thought. Give it legs. What would this look like? Start to challenge the way your brain is. Be more creative. Be more creative. Make a three-dimensional universe out of an idea or a concept, right? Really play it out. Make it real in here before we destroy everything else out here.